All right, we're live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On tonight's show, I have a returning guest. We talked last year, 2020, on September 11th of all dates. And I just by happenstance came across his name again, just looking through my stuff. I said, I should have Doug back on because I felt like even though we did 90 minutes last time, we kind of scratched the surface. And his name is Doug Kramer. He runs the Dazed But Not Confused YouTube site. He's put a lot of new information up there in the year since I've talked to him. So, and he started his own podcast or broadcast with interviews as well. So people can go check that out, but he can talk more about that. So Doug Kramer, are you there?
I am. And it's really good to see you again, man.
Awesome.
I can't believe we did it on September 11th. That's still blowing my mind.
I know, it's so strange. We should have redone this one. I'll put this out September 11th. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Anyway, we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about kind of you being in Scientology, your experiences, how you got out, your family, your situation. I mean, where are you now? Like, you kind of change your thing. Like, I always think externally when you look at Scientology, you look at it a cult, but then from the inside, you're really in a secret society and you have that on your YouTube. Can you talk about what it's like being inside, like you're in a secret society?
It's exactly like being born into this world. You have no other reference point. So I was born into, because real quick, one of the things that I realized after coming out of Scientology, because of what I learned by being programmed, is that I wasn't stupid. It's just brainwashing was ubiquitous. It was everywhere. So if someone wanted a frame of reference and they're starting to maybe think that there's a lot of propaganda and stuff hitting them around them, it's not dissimilar to that. So I felt like I was kind of two worlds back. You know what I mean? So being born in Scientology was like being born into a microcosm of the macrocosm. Because my family was into it, I did have another frame of reference, my man, up until like 9 or 10 years old, because that's when my dad got into it and I started to get indoctrinated into it like right away. But I did have some point to go back to when I woke up out of it. I feel like I'm also drifting on the question that you asked. Could you hone me in a little bit and ask?
Well, I mean, you got in young. Your dad, we talked last time, your dad kind of got you into it. You became involved, but you kind of feel like you're in a special clique, I would say, much like if you're in maybe some other groups where they really treat you special, but it's a secret society. So you're thinking in your mind, I've got something special nobody else has. Is that correct?
Okay, yeah, it's definitely like that. And that's a trip because I don't look at Hubbard as an idiot and I don't look at him like just some psychopath, even though he was, he didn't have a conscience. I realized he was a very clever man because these techniques, like we were talking about a second ago, they're everywhere. And I was totally blind to any of this. So I know it looks stupid from the outside, but when we were in there, we were love bombed and boosted up. It seemed like we were being helped. I trusted L. Ron Hubbard once I got into it. And of course I trust my parents because they're not trying to harm me. They went through the brainwashing process too. So I trust my dad, I didn't like Scientology. I knew something was wrong with it, but that outweighed the fact that my dad has to know what he's talking about. So very slowly, your ego grandification goes up and up and up, and you start feeling special. And that also pulls you away from the real world because now you're taught slowly to look down on people. So the more the ego goes up, the more you feel like you're in a secret society and you feel like you're learning these secrets. Because like I said, you're learning a technology kind of in a bad way that isn't taught to us in school. A lot of school is just brainwashing itself. So you just don't have any other frame of reference, right? So yes, my man, I felt super special. And that was one of the hardest things about getting out of it, William, is like trying to let go of the high and not being special and being brought down to size. And that actually was a really hard, but really therapeutic process. I want to say real quick that a lot of the ex-Scientologists community people that speak out about it are ex-Sea Org, and I, as an ex-Scientologist, see that they haven't even started that process. It's the indoctrination so powerful. They'll carry that Sea Org mentality. Almost the entire narrative is controlled by the Sea Org members, by the way. That's why I personally wanted to start talking out of it, because I don't belong to that clique either. I don't belong to that narrative. I wanted to speak for all the people, and we'll have more people on because they're coming over, that actually can just say whatever they want to say about the experience. That brings us back to the point where you're so special and you're so convinced that you have something special. Unless you really deprogram, you're just going to still be that special person. You're just going to be out of the cult. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a good point you brought up, because that's one of the major things that keeps you in there, to give up that, and then when you get out, to give up that specialness. It's hard.
It's interesting, but I think that's a commonality in a lot of these cults is, come with us, you're in our clique, you're in our group, whether it's the Sea Org, which is like the specialty group within Scientology, you know. So it's something about the human condition that all of us really want to have. Like, so all these promises of the chosen or an insider, it's just really interesting how that works within Scientology. And you kind of see more like, I mean, I'm 52. Like, I've been through so many I haven't been through Scientology, but I've been through mind control situations where they're telling, I mean, I listen to the news and politicians who are really not much different than cult leaders, in my opinion, or even these political parties. Can you extrapolate your experience as a Scientologist to the larger outside world?
Dude, totally. I'm glad you asked that, because this is one of another disappointing part about coming out of the cult. William, I thought we as ex-Scientologists, because of the amount of mind control that's in Scientology, like you said, they all do the same, but this one's a little bit special, because to reverse engineer it is to understand the world you live in. So I figured that everybody that was coming out was having this revelation where they were starting to see, okay, I understand Scientology. Oh my God, is there possibly a global version of this? Does this exist elsewhere? You know what I mean? Is this happening on a bigger scale? Because one of the first revelations that I had, big revelations, maybe a year and a half out of just studying Scientology, is my eyes opened up when I was learning this stuff. So I couldn't help but notice. And also, I also had this thought, which I'm surprised more of the exes don't question. If I could be lied to my whole life for 30 years on this scale and be totally oblivious of it, and then suddenly wake up in a day, is it possible that this has been figured out a long time ago, that Hubbard didn't come up with this? Is there a global version of this? It's not, I wasn't naturally a conspiracy theorist, William, but Scientology itself is a huge conspiracy. So I was at least open to the idea that, you know, without shutting that down, because as soon as you go any further beyond that, because you have to in order to show the connections of Scientology, nobody wants to go there. But for me, I didn't go looking for a conspiracy. I came out of a conspiracy, and I couldn't help but notice what I was learning through the television, the quote unquote education system, dude, everywhere. And just like in Scientology, in order to keep you in, you have to be hit from every angle, and it has to be 24/7. When I was on television acting, I was starting to wake up, and I got rid of my television. So even when I was acting, I didn't have a television, and just getting rid of that, all of a sudden, a few months later, I automatically started to, my brain changed. And I was like, dude, what, William, it was so many layers coming out of this thing. But even getting rid of my television, I started to notice the same things that I was experiencing in Scientology, because it has to be constant, and it has to be from every angle, because it's not our natural state to remain brainwashed and to be out of touch with who we are. So I went through an explosion, not just out of Scientology, but the freaking world we live in, man.
I mean, imagine people who listen to talk radio all day, or at Fox or MSNBC in the background, what they're being reinforced with, not just political propaganda, but corporate propaganda. Take this pill. This pill is good for you.
Yes.
This is your solution all the time. Imagine how those people are shaped. And I think it's really important, because you may have somebody just like Scientology, I think, is very controlling, but there may be somebody who doesn't say they're in a cult, who has been just programmed with those narratives over and over and over again, listening to Fox News or some of these other things, NPR even. I know people on NPR, they might as well be in a zombie state. They've just absorbed so much. And I don't think it's both sides of the political perspective. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with everything you just said. And I don't think it's a shame or it's any kind of condemnation to say that I was brainwashed, because the way I look at it, it's just my opinion. I don't want to push my ideas on anybody else. I'm just trying to tell my story. You know, I'm not trying to get anybody into my cult or preach anything. I just got to tell you though, man, I was super disappointed coming out, and I had to go through all these trusted ex-Scientologists that I thought were on the same page that just were not. And I'm like, it's so ubiquitous. It's so everywhere. Even if you have the NPR or whatever Fox News running in the background, right? I learned that that's going in 24/7. It's so everywhere. The propaganda, we go through the sausage machine called the education system. That's 100% brainwashing if you break it down. Additionally, whose sources of information
100%.
are you getting?
Yeah, 100% brainwashing.
But that's obvious. That's obvious when you come out of a cult, William. That's why I'm saying, like, the exes, we were supposed to save the world. I thought the ex-Scientologists in particular were going to be the ones that were going to, like, lead the charge and expose, like, the bigger, I can't even know anything I could say on here, dude, because we're on YouTube, right? So, but dude, it's so, my point is, there's not,
it doesn't matter if I get kicked off.
I want to protect you, man. We don't want you to get kicked off again.
No, don't worry about it. I got the guys at Odyssey to move all of my content over to Odyssey. So it's not going to be memory hold. It will not be.
Dude, nice.
These guys are the modern.
They're going to join you.
Yeah, please go to Odyssey. I think everybody should go to Odyssey. But these guys are not just censorers; they're book burners, because they've gotten rid of all kinds of stuff in the past on a variety of subjects that I didn't even think were important or anything. But they have burned the books, and it's kind of like year zero nonsense, stripping the mind, almost like a cult. So YouTube is a very evil, in my opinion, an evil organization. I'm just using it because it's a streaming service. If there's another company that has better technology, I will be off of here in a nanosecond. Sorry.
Bro, I'm freaking joining you, man. This is another frustrating thing. It's like, can't you see that you might be like rah because you don't like so-and-so and you're glad they're censored? They're coming for all of us, man. Sooner or later, you ain't going to have a voice. If you can't suss that by now, with the YouTube censorship. Now, what you obviously have something to hide. If, there's propaganda coming at us from one angle, and then anything against the official narrative, you're gone, cancel culture, the whole nine. The fact that anybody doesn't see what's going on with that alone, let's leave all the science, debate, and everything aside. That alone is a cult, bro.
It's so true. It's so true. Oh my gosh, we're living in a cult.
You don't censor anything. Oh, dude, it should be really obvious by now. So that's I said I'm one of. Yeah, man, it's good to talk to you, bro, because I have to kind of suppress talking this openly because of YouTube, because of the very censorship. And so I'm glad, by the way, man, that Odyssey, I heard about that the other day. I really want to start talking a lot. I don't talk in code, but I want to start talking. I don't like to have, dude, I just came out of a cult for William. Check this out, man.
But they're making sure we self-censor ourselves. That's the real.
I refuse to do that. There's the subtlety of what's happening. And again, if I didn't get in a cult, I wouldn't have studied in this stuff. Sorry. And saw the subtlety of what you're talking about the self-censor. I can see exactly what's going on, dude. But let's say you didn't grow up in Scientology,
that's why
Jehovah's Witnesses or the Mormons. Yeah, you might not. It's so big and so everywhere. It's the only world that we know. Why would you question it? Why would you? Honestly, that's why I think, I don't call Scientologists or my family like sheep or, brainwashed idiots. Sometimes I get a little frustrated, but most of them are victims. They have no idea what's going on. So if we educate people, they can snap out of it. You know what I mean? But it's so dangerous what's happening with this censorship that you're talking about. It is frightening to watch people not only not seeing it, but encouraging it and not realizing where that's going to lead soon.
Yeah, we're not in a static environment. We're moving towards something very dark and dangerous. It's unbelievable. Like you would know, man, if somebody in you're probably much more sensitive to it. And that's the real subtle element, is the lack of objectivity of the average American of what's going on. It's like, whoa, this is really dangerous.
Yeah. Dude, you're right about that. I'm so sensitive to this that I'm having a real problem with this in particular. I'm really pissed off in a lot of ways. That's why I feel like I'm getting a lot of healing by being able to speak, and I'm trying to keep my YouTube there as long as possible. It's helping me heal. But like I said, yeah, but I know that that's coming to it at a certain point, especially when we go deeper into these videos.
You got to keep copies of everything, dude, on an external hard drive.
I already got it.
Got them. As long as you're doing that, you can re-upload it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the external a couple
So
weeks
all
ago.
this
I got
stuff is
everything
so
on.
important. All these things are so important because you don't know where somebody is on their journey, whether they're in Scientology, out of Scientology, just came out of uh, Jehovah's Witnesses or what. So they may key into different parts, whether they're trying to get a loved one out. They may come into different parts of your record. And so having that stuff there is so important, man. Sorry.
Yeah, well said, man. Is that your car or what car am I?
No, it's mine. Sorry. I'm in a room with no crosshair, so I got to keep the window open. I just was
Hey,
like
I'm digging the
sweating
new
like in a
green
sauna.
screens.
Thanks, man.
I'm digging the new green screen, man.
Maybe, I mean, yeah, so we're kind of in an environment where we're being bombarded into a cult like 1984 world.
Yes.
And we're in the fishbowl. What is this? I mean, for somebody who's come out of this, what do you think solutions are for humanity? I mean, what do we need to improve out of this situation?
Crikey, if I knew that, William, I would probably be like L. Ron Hubbard, be able to sell a bunch of books and make a bunch of money. That is the question, right? I wrestle with that every day. What can we do except, hey, I had this experience. This is what I learned. I can see what's going on. Anybody else that can see what's going on, speak what you know. You know, one of the benefits of growing up in Scientology is it made me absolutely fearless about speaking my truth, because they took that away from me for my whole life. I never had it. And they make their own enemies because they teach you everything if you live to survive about it. And they also have a tendency to get empathic or somewhat intelligent people. That's how the mind control works. They don't get idiots for the most part. So they make their enemies, and they make their people that are going to come after them. And rather than, trying to fight them on their level, I think we can bypass the psychopaths in the world that are controlling us. And we can just, this is going to sound so corny, dude, but I honestly believe in this. We can beat them with love and education. We can just, I think most people are under a spell that are buying into this. And we have an opportunity now for people to maybe be forced to see that, because I don't think human nature, myself included, changes until they have to. Their back has to be up against the wall. So this is what's happening, I feel. And so it's an opportunity as well as amazing danger. But I think anybody at all that's aware of what's going on, whether they have everybody has a piece of the puzzle. So we got to freaking speak out, man. And just, and then not play at their level and fight amongst each other, and, keep focused on just, hey, here's my experience, don't beat it down anybody's throat. Just share what you know. And that makes them, the more they censor and the more they do that, they're just showing their hand. And anybody that does that's actually very, very scared and cowardly. So they're the ones that are afraid. We actually have the power, man. And we can beat them by not even playing their own game, but just trying to educate people, all of us. Dude, I don't know. I'm not God, dude. I don't know the answers to that huge question you asked. I just am so frustrated with what's going on. I was also kind of prepared for this because, I learned a lot coming out of the cult. So it wasn't a total shock. What is a shock is the scale of deceit, deception, and corniness of what's going on, that I'm a little surprised that we're over 18 months deep in this without the majority sussing what's up.
So how do you see this whole COVID narrative and Scientology compare? How do you compare them to each other?
That's a great question. Can I just say something on that real quick too, by the way?
Sure.
Because when we have coming out of the ex-Scientology community, all of them believing in the COVID narrative. Chris Shelton's pushing it. John Atack. These people that you would expect to be able to see what's going on they can't see it, William. They can't. This is what I told you earlier about the big heartbreak coming out. I went to Tony Ortega's blog and I hung out there, and I thought they were all having the same revelations I was. I then got sucked in by Karen Daly Carrier, who's a full-on L. Ron Hubbard loving, ex-Scientologist that's dark as a demon. I'm going to have more to say about her. I'm not trying to be mean to these people, but what I'm trying to tell you is, before I answer that question, is just getting out of Scientology is one step. Then you have to survive the controlled opposition. And here the whole time I'm thinking everybody's seeing the same stuff I was and on the same page. So just because you were born in Scientology doesn't mean that you don't buy into the official narrative. Most of them do. And there's also this funny thing, bro, where check this out, and this might lead into maybe one of the next questions that you had. I've been talking lately, and I'm going to go into more detail about how the cult it's basically an MK Ultra project, Scientology.
So it's really an offshoot out of the government's MK Ultra. Do you believe that?
100%.
Okay.
And this is really complex, though. So I don't want to. This is why I'm doing videos and going step by step and slowly. And I'm also learning more as I go. This whole process is just making me learn even more. Definitely, it was related to that. And it's funny because, Jolly West was fighting L. Ron Hubbard. This is what I wanted to say about the Scientology mentality and psychiatry. He had a lot of things right. This is why people have such a difficult time abandoning the tech and Hubbard and all of it and starting over with the new thing, because Hubbard, what attracted a lot of us is he was anti-system. He's anti-psychiatry. They're over-drugging people. Now he took it to the extreme and said psychs are on the whole track, meaning all past lives all throughout the century. These are the guys behind everything. Christ, maybe he's right with that too. Who knows? But what I'm saying is what makes that trap so powerful is while L. Ron Hubbard was fighting the system and giving us a lot of tools to do that, he was doing the same thing with the MK Ultra project and Jolly West and everything. And they were fighting each other. We were told Jolly West was the evil psychiatrist, but he was doing a subtler version and doing the exact same thing to us. So the way it works is they all fight amongst each other, but they're all psychopaths and they're opposames. They fight amongst each other because L. Ron Hubbard wants the brainwashing technology. No, Jolly West will own it. But they're all doing the same thing. I think that Jolly West and associates were a little bit jealous of Hubbard because he had a better version of it. It was way more subtle than what you and Cameron and stuff was doing. And also, they're just pawns in a game they don't understand. So L. Ron Hubbard thought he was Satan and the big guy. These guys all have egos. Jolly West knew what he was doing was right. And yet they're just operatives, for the intelligence things, because those are the ones running the show, as you know. So, dude, everybody's a pawn in this, and it gets really complex. That's why I'm saying it's so hard for ex-Scientologists to figure out what was true, what wasn't, who was on. And at the end of all this, I can tell you, it's all a con. Left, right, like you were saying earlier in the interview, Biden, Trump, dude, that's the trap. It's all BS. It's all the same thing. It just looks like as soon as you pick a side, man, you're doomed.
Right. Yeah. Why pick a side? Why not pick a side on principles or ideas or something more
values and doing what's right? Yeah, exactly, dude. Exactly.
Where do you think Hubbard came across the MK Ultra techniques? Do you think he had a handler, or did he come across a manual? There had to have been something where he went, "Ding, I'm on board with what these guys are doing in the 50s, right?"
That's kind of the $100 question. I don't have an answer for that.
I don't either.
I will get to that. I'm going to figure that out.
Well, I heard, and maybe just sorry to interrupt, but Fletcher Prudy said that Hubbard's war records were fake, that it was a legend, that it was an intel legend, and that he had some kind of intel things going on, according to Fletcher Prudy, that there was a cover for that. So he had to have had some kind of military intel. And Hubbard's an intelligent guy, right? So maybe he got drafted even back then.
Yeah, I'm sure that that's the case. And also, if you ask John Atack, he'll say Fletcher Proudy's, BS and this and that. There's a lot. This is the way I see it in the basic way, and how this works. So I don't know all the details yet. There's enough circumstantial evidence. And also, as you know, you're probably never going to find the smoking gun, for Sirhan Sirhan, JFK, but you can put the evidence together and come up with an idea. For sure, he was an intelligent asset of some sort. He probably learned it in the military. And this is my hypothesis so far. People like Hubbard when he was a kid, who's already demonstrating sociopathic tendencies, deviant tendencies. He's getting into black magic at 15 with the Book of the Law. Right. He wants to follow in the military like his father. He's going to go undergo something. I actually think they thought he was crazy, and I think they might have messed with him with those projects, and perhaps he vowed vengeance, or when you're that devious and that intelligent, the higher ups have a use for you. So they look for those people, just Absolutely. Like in Scientology. That's why they put Rinder at the top of OSA in Scientology, and why I would never make it. This is something people need to question when they're coming out. not trying to bash on these people. I'm just saying Mike Rinder is the equivalent of the head of the CIA, Alan Dulles, coming out and then speaking out about the truth. You have to understand the level of compartmentalization and programming and deviousness that it might take to get to one of those levels. And again, everybody's a pawn in the secret society. It's compartmentalized. Only the guy at the top knows. And even Hubbard's controlled in a certain way, right? So it's this huge, I know you know how all this works. It's just some of the people that listen on my channel might be going, oh, dude, this guy's a conspiracy nutter. Unsubscribe. No, but dude,
some of these major corporate, hey man, you can say this cult is there, but some corporate entities are very similar to cults. Top down, pyramidal, compartmentalized, only need to know basis, stealth mode. You'd be surprised how much a corporation is similar to a cult. And Hubbard, I know for a fact Hubbard's had an intel interest very early, like very early 1820s. There's those early pictures of him with the Stetson, not the fedora hat, the glasses. He's clearly had intelligence enough to know him.
William, he's also going off and doing these mineral things. And then he went on this island. And even when they, were in, I don't remember what port it was, that even the people were throwing rocks at him saying CIA. He did a lot of peculiar things where it would make sense if it was an off-book intelligence agency. That would connect the dots on why he would be doing all these rather strange things that have shore stories as the explanation as to why they were really doing that. But this is the way it works, dude. So it's not even probably a hypothesis. Like, there's no way Hubbard would get away with everything that he did and avoid jail. And there's no way it would still be here right now today unless there was something protecting it. And this is the part that Leah Remini, God bless her. See, when I came out of this, I purposely said, because I thought I was going to be out of this in 2 years and I was going to go back to acting because I lost my mind. I'm like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. It'll probably take about 2 years to deprogram. That's what I need to do. And then I'm going to go back into Hollywood. Bro, now Hollywood, now the bigger picture opens up. So I want to be a gung-ho person coming out and taking down Scientology. Leah did so much awesome work. She did 3 seasons on the aftermath. She got so much exposure where people didn't know before. They just thought it was a kooky UFO cult. Now they're like, oh my gosh, look at the damage that they do. But in my opinion, if you don't understand the scale of what you're dealing with, you're going to keep beating your head against the wall like she is, going, why isn't the public outcry enough? Why isn't it enough? Well, that's a great question. And that's why, dude. Because think about it. If you have a multi-billion-dollar organization like Scientology, you have Tom Cruise, Elizabeth Moss, Michael Pena, you have all these, there's a lot more celebrities. Well, you need control of celebrities because unfortunately, that's the way this works. They influence the public. So those people have to be under control. 90%, 95%, maybe 100% of the top stars are under some form of mind control, and they usually belong to a cult. That might be surprising to some people, but I'm quite sure you're up to speed on that, right? You know that the stars have to be controlled because they're going to control and influence the public, sell the products. People mindlessly listen to what celebrities say as if they're somehow better than other people.
There's a huge market for just the watch the celebrity wears, the clothes, the jewelry.
It's stupid. It's so stupid. It's so crazy, totally, but it works, William. So if you're an entity like Scientology, is that something that you would want to go away, or is that something that would be a valuable asset to collect information, intelligence on very powerful, and not just celebrities? They have political leaders. They infiltrate police, governments, the whole thing. And you know about operations. So just think about it. And I think this is part of why the MK Ultra doctors were fighting Hubbard, because he was using and stealing, and I'm sure he was hip to that. You know how it works. It's all kind of control from above, but they fight each other at this level. Right. I think that they were jealous because they were studying cults, West and Cameron and all these, plus they were actually studying cults because they recognized this mind control has been going on throughout human history, but the cults had it perfected more. So that's when they became interested in Hubbard. And that's when Hubbard said, oh, no, Jolly, they went after him. When I was a Scientologist, he was Hitler, dude. He was like the psychiatrist. And then when you come out and realize you're playing on the same team, and that Hubbard perhaps had even a better version of MK Ultra,
Right.
you could see perhaps why they were fighting each other. But
It's
you get
unbelievable.
lost in all the
But
weeds. It's all
right.
it's all the same
But the
thing.
broader picture of Scientology is MK Ultra with all of the beta, alpha, delta, beta,
Yeah,
and then the suicide
state. Yeah,
right, and then the suicide programming at the end, which Scientology has and MK Ultra has. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
You ask such awesome things that get me fired up, because those OT levels do have suicide programming, and they're where you create the multiple personality, the DID, the dissociative identity disorder. That's what MK Ultra was trying to do. I'm going to do when we get up to those OT levels.
Bro.
But here's another thing, William, though. People just think that, Hubbard just was delusional, and and this is partly true, and just randomly came up with this from a science fiction story. He just used Alice in Wonderland. These are MK tools, programming scripts. And to look at Scientology from that angle, I'm going to break down the OT level specifically, showing all this. The way it hides itself from people, and why people MK Ultra programming and all this stuff seems impossible or weird, is because there's so many layers to trying to figure this freaking thing out. I mean, but many people have long sense. It's just to get people up to speed, because as long as Scientology is seen as where's Shelley Miscavige, wacky this, what they don't want is how is a trick done. That's why I loved Arnie Lerma so much. Arnie was focused on the right intention. How is the trick done so we can actually snap people out of this and take them down? As long as you have the controlled opposition talking about Xenu, where's Shelley, that's a missing person. It's important, but it's a distraction. What they don't want you to talk about is the MK Ultra part, and the fact that it's backed by power. Why did they get their tax exempt status? It's a bigger picture, and they purposely keep people focused on keeping Scientology working by, again, having the controlled opposition work against Scientology. So they seem to be fighting, but it keeps Scientology there, and it will always stay there. It will always be
because
there until, like Arnie Lerma said,
what did Arnie Lerma say?
How can you take a problem down? So Scientology is a problem in this world. We know what they're doing. Well, okay, how can you solve that if you don't even know what the root of the problem is, and you keep circling the drain? To understand what it is to be able to finally do something about it. And that's it's not just Scientology. There's controlled opposition groups and everything coming out of the JWs, and you name it.
Tons.
It's really only a few of them actually see the global version. They mostly it takes a long time just to get out of Scientology. But like I said, to me, it was so obvious that the world itself was structured that way. That only took me 2 years to figure out, coming out of Scientology, that I figured everybody was on board with that. Dude, not only are they not on board, that keeps Scientology working, because there's no solutions if you don't actually locate the problem.
Right.
And
if you don't go to the core, right. You have to
exactly.
Go to the core.
So much of it goes back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, when they were developing this technology with the intention to take over the whole world. The more, dude, when technology came in and when things really started kicking off, you and I aren't psychopaths, and most people in this world aren't, so they can't contemplate the scale of evil that people like Hubbard and stuff would be plotting day and night. How can we take over this world? So it's not on our radar, but they're honing like a science how to do this. And we're planning all the way back in the 40s about how can we apply this to the global scale, because we want to rule the world. And then if you suggest that that's happening, especially in a time right now when it should be a little obvious that maybe something weird's happening, they roll their eyes back in their head and they say, conspiracy nutter. You're just a conspiracy nutter. Hey, man, like I said, I feel like I'm the perfect lab rat coming out of Scientology, because I didn't believe in any of that stuff. I mean, L. Ron Hubbard was a master conspirator. And it just all sounds like gibberish. Maybe somebody got right, or it's just like he was a paranoid, freak. But in between all that, that's why I say, if you have a clearer picture of Scientology's roots, it makes sense why he hated psychiatrists. It makes sense as to this. Everything starts to make sense when you understand that as soon as we got technology, especially with the internet nowadays, the ability to actually put the entire world under permanent mind control became possible. And if people don't think that there's people that work on that day and night, they're living in a fantasy world. Absolutely. And I mean, I think Hubbard himself, don't you think that some of his inquiries were actual tests? So not only did he have the tech
but he was constantly working and adjusting and trying to figure out what worked with people and what didn't work to really put them under his. I mean, he repeated Crowley's dictums, "People are my slaves," all that stuff. So he was constantly trying to get people. I mean, it seems like his tech didn't just come out of whole cloth. Would you agree with that? That it was something that was evolving and developed over time?
Totally. I think it's been with us since knowing human history. In fact, I was just watching a video researching Jolly West today, and Margaret Singer was talking about, and this is a respected psychologist who was also part of the MK Ultra program, where she said that this has been around, since how to manipulate humankind and the mind has been around forever. And she was just talking about, like, can you bring me back to the question? I don't want to get off track. I was just about to go off on a tangent, but I want to.
It's okay. Well, I'm just saying that Hubbard, like, he started Dianetics in 48, Scientology in 50.
Yes.
It's okay. Scientology in 50, but like, it didn't seem like he just plopped this whole completed work and this is it. It seemed like he was kind of a chef where he was taking the recipe and adjusting it constantly. Would you agree with that?
Yes, totally. And I don't think what he did was anything new. This is what I think happened. He, like I said, was a deviant personality to begin with. And he came across Crowley's work, and to him, that was the key. In fact, in 1951, maybe 52-ish, he gave the Philadelphia Doctorate Course lectures. These are very famous lectures in Scientology. And according to Nibs, who was his son, he felt like he cracked Crowley's work finally. He felt like he went beyond that, and he finally had the key. So he was rubbing these ancient texts of Crowley right before giving each lecture to Philadelphia.
The one who came after in the Book of the Law, yeah.
So when you're saying, did he mix things? Yes, he used mind control. He used NLP. He grabbed everything he could while, thinking he was helping people, because he was a psychopath. So he probably didn't think he was harming. He had it all justified probably. But he was coming across all these various different keys. And I think, if you go back to John Dee, just pick your black magician. They all stumble across this. And then this is what's mind-blowing to me, because when I stumbled across this by being stuck in Scientology and learning about it when I came out, my first thought was, if I run across this occulted knowledge, I would want to do it. I'd want to uplift people and help people with it. Because, it sounds, if anybody's new to this, it sounds, especially when I came into this, it sounds crazy. Like, what do you mean, Satanism? And it just, a lot of people turn off to that. But when I was first learning about that, I was like, well, I don't believe any of that, but very interesting. Like, tell me more. So, dude, when I went down that dark alley, this knowledge, it's simply knowledge. Like, occult means hidden, right? So this knowledge about how our minds work and how reality works and deep wisdom is in there. It's not good or bad. It's just the way that these people use it. It's just everyone that comes across this seems to be using it to control people. So when Hubbard or these other black magicians come across this, I think they just repeat the same pattern that's been going on throughout history. It's like, dude, where are the people that are actually stumbling across this knowledge, using it to uplift humanity? Because it doesn't seem like there's. I know. I'm not saying I'm one of those, dude. I'm learning about this stuff, but you would have think throughout history somebody, why couldn't we have had more good guys come across this occulted knowledge and share it? So we didn't have secrets, and we didn't have secret societies. It shouldn't be a secret who we are, dude, and it shouldn't be a secret as to how our own mind works. We shouldn't have to go to school and be shut down before we even start life, and then just be a computer program running through life. Like, we should have this knowledge about ourselves, and it exists. I didn't go looking for it. I came across this understanding by being born into this crap, Right. That's why I feel lucky, William, in a certain way, because it is occulted knowledge. How the heck am I going to come across this or de-brainwash myself?
But that's
in the bigger power. If I didn't have the experience.
Right. Once it becomes de-occulted, then it loses its power. The secrecy is the power in the hands of the magician. I mean, you have to kind of put Hubbard into that position as a magician or something like that, or a Wizard of Oz. Totally. Did you ever come across him being involved in sorcery of any kind?
Well, what do you mean particularly? He did the black magic rituals.
Literally trying to raise spirits.
I think he's done a lot. I'm learning more as I go, but he had a lot of involvement in black magic. There's the one that people know where he was out in Pasadena with Jack Parsons trying to do the Moonchild.
Right. The
That's a
Babylon
whole.
working, right?
That was a ritual that Crowley even said, dude, this guy's crazy. So if you have like Crowley saying that, you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, that shows you kind of how devious Hubbard was. He has the Cali ritual that he did, with his Sea Org members, his slaves that he had on his ship. But even more so than that, Nibs.
Well, can you explain that in greater detail? What the Cali ritual was?
I don't know too much about that. That's not already online. It was a black magic ritual. I don't think it was a big deal, to be honest with you. I don't think it was as big as the stuff he was into earlier. But this was a ritual where he was on the ship and some of his Sea Org members or slaves had done something wrong, and they had to destroy the org. They had to make mock-ups of the orgs because these were bad people that weren't applying Scientology, according to Hubbard. And so he just put them through this Cali ritual, they call it, to destroy all the orgs. But I think his real involvement is this. Nibs said that black magic, Satanism, was the only religion in the house. He was obsessed with this stuff. I think the very formation and the key to Scientology, and even Nibs relayed this that his father said. He said, it's not what people think works in Scientology, the tech. The thing that works is the black magic. That is the tech. That's the magic tech. And that actually works. It works to do what? It works to give you all the riches in this world, to make you super rich by hypnotizing people and using them and robbing them of their money, their life, and their time. And then the deal in this religion is when you exit this world, your soul is then owned by Satan. So he felt, and to me, it seems like it works because he got out of here unscathed and he burned his name in fire like he wanted to. He thought this religion would give him exactly what he got. So he made these people are such idiots too, by the way, William, because we talked about this earlier. It doesn't occur to them that that you shouldn't be evil to begin with, because as soon as you start doing something to remove somebody's free will from them, to think that wouldn't somehow come back and haunt you. Hubbard was paranoid. He had to hide out. He had to,
move constantly.
Wear disguises. Dude, who wants to live? Why would you even is money and power that worth it? Where you yourself want to give up your life and attach yourself to evil? Like, why the heck would anybody? I've never understood this obsession with money because, I just wanted to. I'm still having my mind blown at this world because I just innocently grew up wanting to be an artist, an actor. I wanted to express myself. To me, that felt natural. I didn't like school. I didn't like to go with the program. I felt like I was being programmed, even though I didn't know it. So to realize that, this life isn't about just doing well and you'll rise to the top. If you work hard in acting, they'll eventually, get work. Dude, it's nothing like that. It basically is like, if you don't sort of give yourself over to the dark side or sell yourself out, it's very hard to advance. And it's all about money. It's like Hubbard wanted freaking money. That was his main thing. And it's like, I don't want to throw my dad under the bus, but he's absolutely obsessed with money. All Scientologists think about is money.
Money. Right.
I just need enough to survive and just, I don't need much, dude. It's like, why would you sell your soul just for money?
Right. But they need money to get more Scientology, right? So they're always obsessed with money.
That's the thing, man. It's like, I only wanted to get money because I believed in this spiritual technology. Once you can hook somebody in that it's like they're doing good or they're going spiritually free, yeah, you'll work your butt off for them. Every dollar that I made went back to Scientology.
Yeah, it's incredible how they got people. I mean, that was really kind of Hubbard's upgrade from Crowley, who Crowley didn't get enough of his followers to give him money, but Hubbard really made that turn where he made everybody.
Like you said, he took everything. He took everything and threw it into a smorgasbord. He was a brilliant man. I give him that. He's
just totally evil, totally evil person. I mean, I think his son. I mean, for people who don't know, son went by Junior, L. Ron Hubbard Jr., Nibs, D. Wolf. Mm-hmm. He kept having to change his name, but he was really there with his dad from the beginning, at least 48 or 50, until their relationship soured. So he really was there and saw the foundation of Scientology. And he couldn't publish his stuff pre-internet. There was a famous article on Penthouse and he
Mhm.
was just harassed all the time. But I think there was, I think, a congressional hearing, so he gave testimony there. But he, yeah, he really knew all the stuff. I quote him a lot in my book because he saw his dad with the Crowley stuff,
Mhm.
and I think in the Philadelphia lectures, Hubbard references Crowley. There was a great magician who knew stuff from the 13th and 14th centuries. Aleister Crowley, the Beasts, says Hubbard. So Hubbard really mentions him and knows who Crowley was. So he was kind of carrying on that tradition.
And he believed in these rituals, the abortion, again,
Right.
Nib said that he was doing abortions as a ritual, man. I personally think that, okay, so Nibs, had his own motivations. He too was after money, but he didn't like the ex-Scientologists either. His main motivation was to get back at his freaking father. So he's not the perfect character. But when he talks about this stuff, yeah, I'd say probably 80% of it's, pretty damn accurate, because one of the things he highlights is that Satanism was the only religion in our family. This guy was doing abortion rituals. He was giving him, Nibs or DeWolf, drugs to, drug trips as a kid, and, to get him to spout out some of the tech. And he was an evil, evil man. And he totally thought that this was the key to everything else. And I think that he might have taken it to another level. And he was smarter than Crowley in the fact that, like you said, he figured out how to actually make money off this thing. And to get, I think it's whatever you want, William. I think if you're willing to sell your soul out for money, and you're willing to delete your conscience, because most people have a conscience. So it's really easy. If you can delete, it's all about getting rid of that conscience, because most people cannot have a conscience. So therefore they can't, it's like crossing over the bridge, man. Once you can
It's
make
a bridge
that
to total freedom, right? Freedom from
I think
conscience.
that's what he meant by the bridge, though. The bridge to the other realm, where it's all about deleting the conscience, so that then you can do the most blasphemous, the most evil, the most sick. That's what that religion was all about. So once you cross
It's interesting.
that
I was
divide,
just to
you
interrupt.
can
Right.
Sure.
But I'm reading something about the autobiography, a psychological analysis of Hitler. And when he got done with World War I, that was one of the first things he said and stated was, I'm going to destroy the conscience. And my conscience is my enemy. Yeah. He said really profound things about destroying something that's a normal part of the human experience. And that probably was one of the components that led him to all of the horrible stuff. He just intentionally destroyed his conscience.
Definitely. And
so you see that in Hubbard too, right?
Definitely.
So, I mean, yeah, Hubbard's an evil guy. There's MK Ultra in all of this technology that's interwoven into Scientology. I mean, it's just, there's so much Scientology. Like I think you did a show on Manson and Son of Sam. Like there's Scientology having to do with both of those stories, right? Manson and the Son of Sam.
Well, this is how I see it. Like, you read Dave McGowan's Program to Kill?
Sure.
Obviously, right? You're up to speed on Dave McGowan's work.
Very much.
The reason I bring that up is because this is the way I see it. The serial killers, the lone nut serial killers, the Manson story, David Berkowitz, these are fall guys. So we get the movie version shown to us. They're actually blockbuster hits. The true story of Manson, if you listen to Tom O'Neill or read his book, if you read David McGowan's work and many other people, and I know you're up to speed.
Yeah, done both.
These are cover stories. Yeah, these are cover stories to sell movies and stuff. And also to, like we were talking about earlier, embedded into the human psyche, the subconscious, to program people. So that if you say something that's outside of that narrative, the television got there first. The movie got there first. So by the way, people innocently think they're watching movies, but they're constantly being, their subconscious is just being overloaded. And they're being programmed. Television programming, right? I mean, it's even in the words, dude. Hubbard would tell us like upper indoctrination. It's so bizarre that we couldn't even see this, because they're telling you, they're programming you. They're using those words, and yet you go, wow, yeah, whatever. Anyways, I think it works like this. The lone nut serial killer story, everyone from Berkowitz to Manson to just a million other ones that Dave McGowan covers in that book, are the fall guys. There's always a cult behind it, whether it's the Hand of Death cult, with Henry Lee Lucas, whether it's the Process Church and its offshoots, the 22 Disciples of Hell, I believe, and the Children,
Right. Yeah.
which is an offshoot of Scientology. They always splinter, and so it goes the cover story, low nut serial killer, to cover up the activities of the cult, murder, snuff films, etc. And then behind that, you have the intelligence agencies that create them, either bring them into beingness or they allow them to exist, like Jonestown. So that's the pyramid, right? And then if we go beyond what's at the top of that, controlling everything, what do you think, William? Satan, evil? What do you think?
Yeah, just the bad. I mean, isn't that ties a lot of these guys together? Is there Satanism or occultism? Certainly, Hubbard.
And totally. And also, it's just, that's what I learned. Like, it was just like coming out of Scientology, where you have to kind of, I was just a newbie at the bottom of the pyramid. So I thought Scientology was about this, but then you learn more and you try to find out what it was really about. And then finally you can see it. Well, the same thing happening to me in the world. Yeah. So you have to penetrate beyond just the cult, beyond, the Process Church. That's so sexy. And then you keep penetrating. Oh, the lone nut serial, because oh my God, there was something behind that. They were all involved in cults where some of these people were hitmen. There's intelligence agencies behind this. What's up with Jim Jones? Was an MK Ultra experiment? What? So you start penetrating these things, right? And I think the whole idea is to make it so many layers of buffering that, dude, unless you make this your business to work it out, which freaking took me like 10 years, you're just going to get sidetracked into all the cult sexiness. And maybe it was just, you know what I mean? It's like to me, there's like this huge picture. I know you know this because I watch all your videos, man, and I learned so much from you, dude, and your guests. I wish you were back on.
I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot from my guests.
Dude, can I ask you a question? Like, you know more about Scientology than the ex-Scientologists do. You know more about any guest that you have on. You had Manny Grossman on. You guys went into the Son of Sam. You can keep up to speed with him. I've been watching all these guests that you have on, dude. Are you just like an encyclopedia of knowledge at this point with all these guests and everything you've learned?
I'm getting close. I'm getting close to being an encyclopedia. But I learned, the web of knowledge just kind of overlaps.
It never ends.
Cults teach the cults, Scientology, Crowley, and then you have a better understanding of the world, and then you're actually inoculating people from getting into these alleyways where literal Wizards of Oz can take you on a journey that isn't that great. I mean, even Nib said at the end, Scientology represent the worst in the human experience, the rape of the soul. So really, I think that Hubbard was really going for something even beyond the mind, which was just to really totally enclose. I mean, almost like you're in a matrix, like you're an energy in some kind of battery system where you just become totally controlled. And your own free will is gone. Like you don't even know it. And I think you can see that in Nazism too. Look at what Hitler did. I think Hitler was probably using somewhat similar techniques as Hubbard, controlling people, just constantly hitting them with propaganda. They don't know what the outside world.
And he was heavily into black magic. They all have the same MO, don't they? They learn from the same manual, and they all have the same characteristics. Shut down the conscience. Start learning some of this occultic knowledge, and then
the enemy's over there. So Hubbard had it down really well when he went after psychiatry. That's the problem.
Because he was half right too. He was also half right.
Right. It's not us. We have we're the perfect, paladins of truth, but they're the bad guys. They're the ones taking people off. And almost Hitler did the same thing. It was everything else: the Jews, the Poles, the Russians, the Marxists, and they just they caught the Germans were the ones who really did a lot of damage. I mean, they did the most damage. I mean, those people, they're just, So anyway, you can see this part of history. And what did Crowley famously say after the whole war was ended, World War II? He said, before Hitler was, I am. So it was a play on the New Testament, saying that he understood, I think, that a lot of what Hitler did was very similar to his ideology. So I wrote that in my book, The Ideology of Evil. Yeah.
What book is that, William?
That's in Children of the Beast. Children of the Beast.
Okay.
But, you can read about Hitler. Anyway, but I'm actually going through kind of Hitler stuff right now because you just see these similarities in these guys, what they do to themselves to really harm other people and stuff like that. The ability to harm other people.
What have you concluded? I mean, with all the knowledge and stuff, how would you describe what's going on?
Well, I just I just have a biblical worldview. So I do see,
Mm-hmm.
as a Christian, I do see that darkness exists, evil exists, and you can see that in people. I mean, for me, like, I'm inoculated a bunch of all that stuff because I believe that what Christ said was true. So the New Testament for me is that opposition to cults and mind control and things like that. Mm-hmm. That to me is like the true freedom is through Christ, because mm-hmm. the teachings keep you from sin and error. So that really Christ is the triumph over sin and death, right? So they're all what Christ mm-hmm. achieved. So I think that a lot of those things through Christ, you avoid some of the problems. Like almost even the true crime is an action of sin in the world. I mean, it's not overt, mm-hmm. but you see people's errors causing harm to other and things like that. In cults, I mean, you strip these things down. These guys at the top are occultists, Satanists, magicians, mm-hmm. much more so than you would ever think. And they're all, a lot of them are very similar, very deceptive, controlling. So I think, that's what I've learned just from going over. Yeah, same patterns over and over.
Same pattern, right?
Hubbard, Jim Jones. I mean, it just goes on. All these Keith Raniere. Exactly. Do you know that Keith Raniere was influenced by Crowley, space opera, Hubbard, Dianetics, Ekankar, like all this stuff? Yeah,
that's another perfect example. I mean, he's almost a clone of Hubbard and Scientology, but because he mixed the salesman technique and everything. Manson too, even though he was a puppet from those above, and definitely was an MK Ultra project and used for a purpose. See, that's the thing.
He was clear. Do you know that Manson was clear?
Yeah, he says that.
Well, it's in the Bugliosi book.
O.J. Simpson said he got to the state of clear too.
Well, it's in what? I'm not surprised. It's in the Bugliosi book, right? The guy who prosecuted him said it's in the Bugliosi book where Manson went into a Scientology center, and he told him everything he knew, and the guy in the Scientology center said, "There's nothing else I can teach you," because he had already absorbed everything. So
he actually did. I know he got processed in church, and I know he had about 100 to 150 hours while he was at McNeil Island. And I know there's been speculation about that. So he actually, do you have any more information on that?
Yeah, that's from the Bugliosi book. I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah. Well, we know Bugliosi's a complete psychopath and he lied. But have you been able to sift through? Yeah. I do. Because, dude, I mean, that book, man. That's the biggest selling book, and Tom O'Neill rips that apart.
I know, he rips it apart, but it is the number one selling true crime book of all time. Can you believe it?
There's another example where I can believe it. This is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Sell the movie version to the public so the truth never comes out. And Bugliosi was an absolute tool and shaked his butt out there for money and fame and gave a complete BS cover-up version. That if people haven't, you read that book by Tom O'Neill, right? If people haven't read that, shatter. You interviewed that guy?
Yeah, he's on my show. I'll dust it off and put it up.
That's awesome.
I interviewed him right when the book came out before Rogan.
Oh, you
interviewed
lucky
him,
man!
So all of that stuff, like all.
See, you're on that. You're on this stuff, William. That's why I love the guests you have, man. Yeah, you got to put that back up. That guy's. He's a really good interviewer too, man. But man, did he crack that open? I often wondered about.
So here's a quote. This is from Peter Levenda, Sinister Forces. When Manson was released in 1967, he went to the Scientology Center in San Francisco. Family member Little Paul Watkins, who accompanied him there, told me, Charlie said to them, "I'm clear. What do I do now?"
Right. This is what I think happened. I think he went into, here's how it works. Oh, it's another rabbit hole.
Here's another one. This is, hold on. This is another Levenda. In Los Angeles, he went to the Scientology Celebrity Center. Now, this was more like it. Here he could mingle with the elite. I managed to obtain a copy of the original log entry, 73168, new name, Charlie Manson. No address, ethics, type 3. The receptionist, who by type 3 meant psychotic, sent him to the ethics office, but he never showed up. So,
I got to get that. Where can I get that?
I'm going to upload it. It's on from Lermanet. You just mentioned Lerman.
Okay. You know, I didn't know if that was actually true. Now, what do you think of Lavenda? I mean, I know that there's debate. Do you trust that info right there? Because that guy is super interesting.
Well, we can get into Lavenda, but I do believe that he's
Okay.
Simon.
That makes
Okay,
what you're
well, no,
saying
no,
makes sense.
but yeah, but I have to answer that in long sentences because Lavenda is according to the Copyright Office and the document I saw, if it's legit, that means Lavenda wrote the Necronomicon as Simon. But Lavenda, there's pictures of him in an OTO ritual, so I know he's hanging out with other OTO members. Wasserman. He wrote the intro to a book that really changed my Prophet of Evil book, which I've been talking about because it's 20 years since 9/11. But this other book that, I mean, for me was just a disgrace. That was my opinion. But he was involved in that, kind of whitewashing some of the stuff I put in my book, which is all about Crowley and kind of numerology. But Lavenda's, for me, is a knowing occultist who worked at the Magical Child, which was an occult bookstore in New York City. Like, that's his self-admission. But I've communicated with Lavenda. But, I mean,
that's why I go back and forth on that guy. I mean, you know what he's saying there about him actually going to and being to the center and being type 3, all that. I haven't found any evidence yet that he actually went into Scientology place. But if he did, you know what would happen here? So they got Scientology into the prisons,
right?
Not through criminal.
I think that's where he said he learned
later. Well, this is what happens. They only had Dianetics then. So when he says he went clear, he wasn't on the e-meter in prison. He was doing Dianetic auditing, which is just two people sitting next to each other. And I believe Lanier Remer and a couple other people introduced him to Scientology. And what they would have done is Dianetic auditing. And then he would have attested to, or because Dianetic says you can reach a state of clear by doing this processing. So I felt like, because OJ said the same thing, and this is what I think OJ was up to. He wasn't a hardcore Scientologist. He just did Dianetic auditing, I'm supposing here, because I have a clip of him talking about this where he achieved clear and he tried to reach out to Hubbard and stuff. He would have just done Dianetics like Manson and says, oh, I achieved a state of clear. This is because it describes it. So you could, according to Hubbard, go clear in Dianetics. But William, because he wasn't, because of that bankrupt and he had to start something new, and he wasn't making a lot of money because people could just get together for free and use Dianetics. But then he says, wait a minute, you can't really go clear in Dianetics. You need to use Scientology. So he always changed the story as he went on to how can I make the most money? And everybody was trying to steal his tech, like the Process Church, right? People were constantly splintering off. Even Raniere to this day, stole Hubbard stuff. That's what I'm saying. I think the intelligence agencies, while he was part of them, was also fighting him because he has a brilliant technology to hypnotize people and control the crap out of them and maybe even connect them up to the red man. And you would have no idea that's happening. Dude, William, I'm telling you, like, it is a trip to go that far deep, to get up those OT levels, to get that deep into darkness, feeling like a totally normal person. Nobody knew anything was wrong with me. Waking up with, I'm still recovering to this day, 13 years later. It is such a bizarre, weird. Do you know what it feels like to have your soul literally taken over? Because I'm not even a religious person, and I know that happened. So I know what it's like to get into to who you actually are and somehow siphon it off elsewhere. It sounds crazy, and I wanted to avoid this stuff too, because I didn't want to go back into Scientology woo-woo land. But I had to actually confront this in order to get my soul back, because, dude, there's something to that black magic. Because I don't even know how to describe it, man, but it scares the crap out of me just talking about it, dude. And that's why I'm so happy. I would give anything.
It's very dark. But you're not, the thing is you're not alone, Doug. There's so many Scientologists like you. There's so many Scientologists like you.
I know, bro.
They've had a very profound experience, like surviving Jim Jones, Jonestown or something like that. Those survivors are traumatized, damaged forever.
Yeah, I'm not saying Scientology is the only one. Jim, I've seen some of those interviews too, by the way, recently. They know what it's like to. What's really scary though in super evil, William, is that, let's just hypothetically say you were to apply this to the world. to take people's soul and free will and who they actually are away permanently, and where they wouldn't even notice it, like Huxley talked, how people would just love their servitude. That's a really, really scary reality, dude. Like that, I would have thought that was science fiction or not possible unless I confirmed in the most crappy way possible that that's a reality. And that's what these master occultists not only believe in, but they know that it works. I give you cults. I give you Scientology. You know?
Right. We get into it. I mean, one of the things you learn, I've had readings or done readings in enough occultism that the corollary, the mind control is the handmaiden of the occultist. They're always involved in manipulating people. It goes from what I just read about the ONA, it's about manipulating people, Crowley, Church of Satan, Nazism. I mean, all these guys, they're always very involved in getting into other people's brains and getting them to do their will. They just do that. And Scientology is a perfect example.
That's great what you put up here too, by the way, perfectly. So from Helter Skelter by Vincent Bugliosi, Paul Watkins and Bugliosi interviewed him about Manson's philosophy. Manson had told him that while he was in prison, he'd studied Scientology, becoming a theta. That would be theta clear, I guess, in those terms, which Manson defined as being a clear. Yeah, the technology got so much more advanced back when Manson was doing it in the early 50s. Because once you get into Scientology, it's nothing like sitting down, reading a book and doing a session with your buddy. It's a whole different machine. Also, you know, another interesting thing is that Project MK Ultra was started in April of 1953. And just coincidentally, Hubbard, I'm going to lay this down in one of the videos because it's too much to get into, but Dianetics went bankrupt. I'm not sure if his name was Purcell or Don Purcell or some other character. He came along and basically resurrected Scientology. All of a sudden, when Hubbard looked like that was a dead end, it was on the bestseller, but all of a sudden, you know, it was a quackery and his fame went away. In December of 1963 is when Scientology became incorporated and became Scientology. There was perhaps some deals going on there. Do you understand what I mean?
What do you, I mean, deals like
well, Hubbard has a technology with Dianetics on, you know, again, what Jolly West was figuring out, because Jolly and his MK Ultra crew was monitoring, or, you know, they were interested in what cults were doing. And of course, they're going to run across Hubbard, and they were interested in what he had. So if I was in their shoes, I would want what Hubbard was doing, or if I couldn't own it, because Hubbard wanted everything to himself, you'd perhaps make a deal with him to have, you know, to get his pick him up from Dianetics and get him to create Scientology, and perhaps, you know, make it a little more global and give Hubbard what he wants or whatever. He worked with everybody, the KGB, he imported drugs. Dude, again, behind these cults, you find pedophilia, child trafficking, you find everything that you find in Epstein and elements of, you know, what Keith Raniere was doing in there. So maybe some will be a little more heavy on the child trafficking, or maybe some won't have it at all, but they'll hit they'll hit labor trafficking like Scientology, or drug smuggling, which, you know, again, Hubbard's son said that he was involved in these things. So when you look beyond the veneer and you start understanding the background in which it came out of and understand other cults, dude, they all are involved in criminal activities doing the same thing. And the cults are a cover for that. And they also work to program the celebrities. You get so many benefits by something like Scientology, everything from running drugs to having John Travolta and Tom Cruise sell Scientology and get a bunch of people in. And we're all paying for our own enslavement. There's no benefit of any of this. It's only benefiting Hubbard and the dark side. That's what I'm talking about, how we can give our minds and souls away, so much so that we'll walk into a tyranny smiling, like I did.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And people come in and then come out. Like they're just like, yeah, it's really an incredible event. Some people last 5 years. Some don't get out. Some come in and they just look back on what the heck just happened. Like I just went into a completely different like a time warp or a mind warp, where there's just a whole different personality for 10 years. And that whole language too, I've noticed like the commonality of this different, completely almost a different language that Scientology has, different meanings. Almost, it's like communism, where they talk about their own language of oppression that doesn't, it's skewed from normal vernacular parlance. And Scientology, like that was one component that I think was very successful, where they just had their own jargon, right? Can you talk more about that?
Anything you'd like to know specifically? Because what you said is part of the mind control. And Hubbard was a master wordsmith. That was one of his affirmations, that he had a magical power with words. Again, we're back to Crowley. To be able to pick those specific words, clear, OT, which comes from the OTO. You know about the occult. Their words, their numbers, their symbols, the dates that they do the rituals on, all that's part of it. So even the dictionary's that thick, William, of like terms. And I still even once in a while accidentally say those words. They're so stupid when I listen to them now. It sounds like a bunch of sci-fi gibberish, but he was a hypnotist. So those words, even the word clear, remember, when you're getting auditing, you're having your creative imagination used to implant his suggestions. So when you're being hypnotized, which is exactly what auditing is, especially with the soup cans, and you're running an electric current through someone's body, and you're having them go back in their track using their creative imagination. Once you do that, you're very suggestible. There's nothing wrong with the imagination, obviously. It's the focus of attention that he's holding. So I got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours at these auditing sessions, believing 100% that I was so-and-so in a past life, and this, because they eventually take you past lives, all sorts of things, just using my imagination. And by the way, that's what, you and Cameron and stuff was discovering, that you don't need to beat somebody over the head or electrocute them or anything. You just need to use their creative imaginations to implant suggestions. And this is why we had people like Sirhan, which is now back in the news and stuff, who was there but Jolly West implanting false memories and getting this is what we're talking about, the lone nut serial killers and the people that were set up. All you have to do is look into McGowan's work and look behind these MK Ultra doctors or Hubbard, and realizing they have something that's pretty easy to figure out, but it's powerful, and you're screwed if you get involved in it. You can't tell the difference between a real memory and something implanted like that. And if that happens,
there's been tons of mind-controlled killers too. Many in the news.
This is what they use. Is what I was trying to say, William. Like,
right,
I think they do other things, but Scientology does the same thing. So, and that's something people can understand, because when you say MK Ultra, people start getting like, well, let's see some, like, what are you talking about exactly? The auditing itself is set up to do what Jolly West would have done with Sirhan. It's really simple. Remember, they were using L. Ron Hubbard not only knew about MK Ultra before anybody else. He talked about it in 1951 in a book called Science to Survival, and he called it pain drug hypnosis. So you'd asked me earlier, by the way, how he found that out, or kind of, I don't know. Like I said, I'm still going down that rabbit hole, but he used the Kubark manual, which is a CIA manual, and he used Alice in Wonderland, and he knew about Project MK Ultra in 1951. So how did he know that when nobody knew about it until 1974? That program was kept so compartmentalized that even the people that were involved, that were really in the know, had no idea what they were really like a part of. Everything was kept compartmentalized. And that begs the question, what's happening right now that with the advancement of technology that we're not going to know about until 2050, when we're all in enslavement camps?
Right.
I'm glad we figured it out, but it's a little bit too late then.
There's a lot going on right now. But I mean, I think that guy Holmes, if you remember the Batman killer who was in Chicago, and he went in and shot all those people.
There's another one. There's another.
That guy was totally lucid and sane. There's old videos of him. He was actually, I think, a student of neurology, and he was just totally lucid, giving talks. There's stuff of him, and within a couple years, man, he was fried.
That reminds me of Ted Kaczynski, dude, the Unabomber. I mean, what did they do with him? With the Holmes and all these other crazy people that go crazy and shoot someone with a gun. Yeah, sure, there's killings, of course there are, but the high profile ones, the ones that are put on the news, these are mind control victims that are having the same programming done that we just talked about with what they do in Scientology. That's why Tom Cruise or John Travolta People think they're stupid. They're not stupid. They're hypnotized. They've had false memories. They had this auditing. Tom Cruise, I think, is on OT7. He's had how many thousands of hours of false implanting? What would prevent him from going up and being like, there's a very fine line between being a James Holmes and a Tom Cruise. There's no difference. It's just what role are they going to decide that you play? Are you going to be was Manson going to be a musician and make it like the Monkees and the Beach Boys? Or are we going to have him play this role over here because we need him for this psyop? It's almost like, and if any of us, we're all playing a role unless we wake up, dude, because how do we know this is really scary to actually talk about, dude, because I was playing a role where I would have killed for Hubbard. I would have died for Scientology. You're never going to talk me out of it. Never. So, it's not a matter of intelligence or,
right.
John,
no, it's definitely
say
not.
What you want about these people. I think a lot of them are victimized by this technology.
We're both in LA. You can go down to Hollywood Boulevard and see those people, shilling for Scientology. They are true believers, and they're not all, they're not 2-digit IQ people. So something much more profound is happening beyond the intellect with Scientology. And that's what people have to understand.
Like you said with Holmes and Kaczynski, these guys were really intelligent. I talked about on one of the interviews, in order for this MK Ultra mind programming to work, they need certain intelligent people. It doesn't mean that you can't be hypnotized by being a dumbass, but you're going to have to take trauma. Kathy O'Brien, she talks about this and she would back this up. You have to be able, and she was at the highest level of this stuff and somehow survived to tell about it. It's the same thing that she's talking about that Scientology and these other cults are doing. You have to you're going to split the mind into several personalities. This is with the creating of the Manchurian candidates, not having memories. If you shot someone, that's how they can get a lone nut serial killer to do that and then have no memory of what happened. This is down to a freaking science. So they have, they basically have, did I lose you or am I on just the big screen now? Did you go somewhere? I think I lost you, Ron. Let me know when you can hear me.
I just hit the wrong button. Sorry, go ahead. Keep talking.
All right. I can see you coming back.
Yeah.
There we go.
Sorry. Keep talking.
Are you messing with StreamYard too much, young man?
No, I was trying to find your YouTube channel so I could get off of Lerman ads.
I've just been learning about that app, by the way, bro.
It really works really well. I
love it. I love it, dude. StreamYard,
You're doing interviews. Highly recommend. So where were you? Continue talking.
Hit me with where we were at, bro.
We were at just the power of this programming. So there's some MK Ultra stuff. These guys are getting it. Jolly and West is all over the board. Timothy McVeigh. Sirhan. Just so many different.
OJ, Patty Hearst. He did Patty Hearst. He was behind the scenes on that one.
Jack Ruby.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, his real history is so incredible. And I think he was right here in UCLA. Just like a weird story.
Yeah, he was. Which, by the way, that's where Morrison and all these, they did a lot of these programming at the university. Stanford, UCLA was another one. You know that. And also, check this out, bro. I was just watching this video with Jolly West. This explains the controlled opposition just real quick and why it's hard to get out of Scientology. And it's such a mind F. There's so many different confusions. There's a video that I was just watching in 2014 that had Hannah Whitfield, a top whistleblower, sitting there and a whole bunch of ex-Scientologists with Jolly West thinking, okay, now I got out of Scientology. Dude, I got to show you these videos. I'm gonna do about a video about it this week because it's so mind-blowing. And it also is going to be a good tool to explain kind of just how the two opposames work. But
you're going from one side to the other control. Wow, that's incredible.
Dude, this is what I'm telling you. I don't even think people are purposely trying to do that. They just don't. It's hard. Like I said,
that's going from one frying pan to another fryer. Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, and check this out though. In this video, so they're all a plot. Okay, so like I said, Jolly West was psychiatrist, enemy number one as Scientologist. So now Hannah Whitfield and company are thinking psychiatry isn't that bad. Now I do think we overdrug and all that stuff. L. Ron Hubbard has some of that right, but I don't have
no doubt we overdrug.
Oh, for sure. but I don't have this crazy phobia programming where it was super extreme in Scientology. So I there's a middle ground, in my opinion. But what happens is, and this is what happens a lot when you don't realize the opposition is usually controlled as well. So they're sitting there applauding. I mean, this guy looks evil. The stuff, it's just crazy. 3 hours of video with this madman, but telling some really interesting stuff. And they're lapping it up. They're like, oh, yeah, we're at a Scientology now. We knew Jolly was the good guy. He must be because Hubbard was against him. This is the throwing the baby out with the bathwater type scenario. I'm not anti-Hubbard in terms of, oh, just hate him. There's nothing to learn from him. He's an evil psychopath, but he was brilliant. So put the emotion aside and learn from him. But it's all a con. Don't take that personality test. You'll get your mind ripped open. Don't do those TRs. So and then you get the indie Scientologists, right, bro, where they do hold on to Hubbard had the tech right. They never figure out that he was a black magician, that he's evil, or they go, okay, maybe you got some things right. It's like all these different levels. And usually the one that people land at eventually is like we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation, where they think, thank God I got out of Scientology. Everything that Hubbard said must have been BS. Now I'm just going to believe in mainstream science and psychiatry is great. And, so that's that. It's just, dude, it's crazy watching that video with this. That guy should be incarnated many times over and jailed to pay for the crimes that he did. That guy like tortured.
He was the CIA asset of the MK Ultra project.
And
so
in the video, he, like Hubbard, he was trying to baffle the ex-Scientologist with his brilliant, witty humor. So he says, oh, yeah, Hubbard said I was a CIA and part of the KGB. I guess that makes me a double agent. And all the Scientologists were like,
so
dude, Hubbard was calling him out correctly is what I'm saying. Yeah. Right. Well, himself probably being a CIA or at least an asset. So this is what I would, they fight each other. And then the poor ex-Scientologist in the middle of this battle.
Theater, yeah, wow.
Yeah, but I don't even think they believe it's theater, though, because Jolly West would believe, like any psychopath, like Hubbard, they believe and justify and have a split mind as to why I think Jolly West really felt like psychiatry is the correct technology, and Hubbard's cult is influencing and very, very damaging. He was right about it. It was very, very damaging. But look at what he was doing, dude.
Right.
I wonder he almost made Hubbard look somewhat not as evil as he was. I mean, that guy was bad, dude. Oh, and he's up there joking with the ex-Scientologist. Yeah.
But a lot of
it's a video put out by Mark Bunker, by the way. Mark Bunker's running for councilman, and there they are, sitting in promoting somebody doing the exact same that Hubbard was doing. This is what it's like, wheels within wheels, and it's like a spider's web.
Wow, it's really incredible when you really think about it.
Man.
But here's
I have spent a lot of time thinking about it.
But here's the tendrils of control, right? The people on one side don't see the other, but you don't also see the log rolling, which I've seen in certain environments where I know they know each other behind the curtain, but they play like they don't know. So
say more about that. Tell me more. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that I know. I won't explain the environments, but these people know that they're part of an organization and they're not disclosing it. But then so the opposition is fake. So that
do you think that they always know that they're fake, or do you think they're kept compartmentalized?
It might be compartmentalized, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jolly and West knew what was going on. If he's as skilled a MK Ultra scientist as he was, he had to have known that the same techniques are being inculcated into Scientology.
He almost couldn't prevent himself from accidentally saying that.
Yeah. I mean, he had to have known.
That's what's so funny, where he basically says all that, but he's laughing to kind of, dude, it's just like creature against creature.
Yeah, but that's the inside joke.
Yes.
Duper's delight. So they know they're duping the chumps in the public.
They tell you too. Hubbard was telling us flat out all the time, I'm the Prince of Darkness. He said that at the end of the first lecture on the PDC in 1951. He was constantly cackling at how stupid we all were.
That's their whole thing, man. That's what they do all the time. And it's the same attitude as Crowley, treating all those people with contempt. You're disposable. All those people are used by will. I mean, it's the same themes. Wow. Yep. So where can people see your YouTube channel? Again, it's Dazed But Not Confused. So people go to YouTube and check that out. you want to talk about some of the recent research you've been doing?
Sure. And thanks for having me on too, man. I mean, I love talking to you, bro. I mean, I love these kind of chats, dude. What was the question? Where people?
Well,
yeah, there's a YouTube channel out there. Yeah.
You've put out.
Okay, some of the latest.
Yes.
Thank you. That's a perfect opportunity. That's the waste of video on this because I wanted to tell people that there's 3 things on this channel that I've been working on. It started out with the Raised in a Secret Society series, telling my story and breaking down Scientology step by step. So we're right in the middle of season 2, with the next episode being the Summer of Psyops Part 2. And then I added these cult clips to be able to talk about Jolly West. That's going to be the next one, and things that we can't cover on the series because that follows a specific structure. But we can cover so much information answering viewers' questions and anything else on the cult clips. And then I started doing podcasts recently because I get sick of just talking about I don't like to talk about myself. So it's cool to have these awesome guests on. We've had ex-Scientologists. We had a narcissistic psychopath breaking down narcissism. And then my good friend Kelly coming on talking about her sex trafficking documentary, which she just did a few days ago. Anybody that wants to come on that has anything to share, please reach out. Cause there's I want to, we talked about at the very beginning, what can we do about the situation?
Right.
Have as much people share their stories and information as possible. So
where can people reach out to you? What's the best means?
I kind of don't. I mean, I have all the Instagram, the Facebook, and that stuff, but I just hate social media, so I don't really want.
What about your email? Yeah. I mean, you want to share?
Yeah, people can Doug Scott Kramer at gmail.com, and then people can follow me on Instagram and throw a message over there and stuff. I just
are you dazed but not confused on Instagram as well?
Probably.
Or Doug Kramer. It's Kramer. But you can also reach out to me. Somebody asked a question. What's the difference between Scientology and Kabbalah? I'd say there's a lot. Do you ever come across Kabbalah?
Well,
Scientology? I don't know.
No, but I mean, it's another form of at its core, the occult. So it's all exactly the same thing, basically. I mean, they're not going to throw you on the E-meter in Kabbalah, but we know Madonna and the other elite. There's a perfect example of the Hollywood people are involved in some form of cult or mind control. Yeah. Not all of them, but Madonna especially. I mean, dude, again, there's what you're showing when I was growing up looking at Madonna, and then there's what you learn about this creature later on, and it's like, jeez, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. And again, your YouTube channel is Dazed But Not Confused. People go check that out. He's been putting out cult podcasts. Jolly Bridge Burner says, thanks, William and Doug. Really interesting discussion. Yeah.
Thank you, Jolly.
And, let's do it again. We're a year apart. Let's do it again sooner. But it's great having you back, Doug. Thanks for
you too, man. And then William, if you ever want to come on and talk about your research and all your awesome work and investigation, please hit me up, dude.
Yeah, anytime. I'd like to talk to Kelly Galindo. If you could send me her information.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure she'd love to talk to you. So cool. Thank you.
Let's keep in touch.
Okay, absolutely.
All right, don't go anywhere. I'm going to end.